August 6th marked the 10th anniversary of Riese. Yes, I intended to make this video 13 days ago, but it didn't work out. Regardless, you could argue that Riese's 10th anniversary is also the anniversary of zombies as we know it now. Riese wasn't the first zombies map, but it was definitely a coming-of-age map for zombies. It was the first map to feature a Pack-a-Punch and a Pack-a-Punch quest. It was the first map to feature an Easter egg, and it's also the first map to take its narrative seriously and create mystery for us to explore. Thanks to many of these firsts, Riese holds a special place in the hearts of many zombie players and is generally regarded as one of the greatest zombies maps of all time. Today I thought it'd be fun to look back on Riese and see how it holds up 10 years later in 2019. The map itself will feel slightly dated when you first jump in. The graphics are, after all, 10 years old. This doesn't mean they're awful, but if 2015's reimagining of Riese and the Giant is any indication, there was room for improvement. The feel of the gameplay can also at times be dated. This, however, is more a product of the game being on World at War, and also just a product of the time. World at War zombies can at times feel sticky or hit you from a mile away. We're used to now being able to kind of duck and weave through zombies, but you can't do that in World at War. In fact, training in Riese sometimes feels uncomfortable because I don't want to get too close to the zombies for fear that I almost get sucked into their gravity. It's a bizarre feeling. Not to mention, Quick Revive doesn't work in solo. This adds an extra level of nerve to solo play. Zombie players are used to having many lives and also just getting multiple revives through Quick Revive. Riese and World at War in general give you one shot, one mistake, and it's all over. Another thing you could note is that this map's pretty small by today's standards. It's funny because we have 3 teleporters that allow us to traverse this massive map quickly. But the map is small enough that you never really need to use them. Personally, I've never used the teleporters unless I've been pinned back by the zombies into the teleporter, but that seldom happens. You can actually go back and look at some posts from the Call of Duty forum 10 years ago, and you'll see many people point out how large this map is. It's funny to look back on it now and compare it to modern maps. I mean, it's not small or tiny, say, like Noctare and Toten, but it's definitely towards the smaller end of zombies maps, and it doesn't really need a fast transport system like teleporters. Beyond that though, the gameplay is simple by today's standards, but fun. When jumping into modern zombies, there's a lot going on, sometimes maybe too much. We have an inventory full of blank squares that indicate all the things we're supposed to build. We're then expected to go find a power switch, and we had to find a way to turn on the Pack-a-Punch. Not to mention, we can usually expect many side quests and weapon upgrades. Riese gives you no indication of anything of the sort. You spawn in right by the Pack-a-Punch, but 10 years ago, we had no idea what this machine did. It was just a random machine behind a glass window. Players may not have even realized that there was a need to turn on the power. At the time, after all, only 1/3 of all previous maps featured the power, and the last map, Shinonuma, didn't have the power, so why should we expect that this map has power? Perhaps it was something they tried on Verrückt once and then never implemented again. People didn't know when they were first jumping into Riese 10 years ago. Players just needed to explore the map and discover and see what it had on offer. In doing so, they would eventually find a power switch, and they'd start linking the teleporters, and after linking all 3, the Pack-a-Punch was unlocked. As far as doing things that affected the gameplay, that was it. It maybe takes you 2 minutes. Compared to a zombies map today, this map feels barren, and if it was released today, I think it would be lampooned by the community for its simplicity. And this isn't a terrible thing though, that this map is simple. Sure, by today's standards, we would think it's empty, yet it still seems to hold up. Maybe it's because we have expectations that are lowered when we play Riese as opposed to brand new maps, but there's something appealing about being able to just jump into Riese, get set up quickly, and then play. One of Riese's core strengths is its map design. It has a fun yet eerie setting, and it features many spots that players can train in, many winding paths to run routes, and also the famous catwalk if you wanted to camp. It's like a playground for playstyles. Every playstyle is catered to on this map, and it opens the door to experimentation and increases replayability. Simplicity really works in Riese's favor. It takes you 4 to 5 minutes to get set up, and then you can just go on to play and survive for as long as you can. That's something that I'm not sure you can say in some maps. Take, for example, Alpha and Omega. You have 4 different ray guns that you can build. You have the shield, you have the teleporter, you have a full Easter egg quest, the Pack-a-Punch. There's so much going on. Riese, it's just so much more simpler. I can just get in and play and survive. Looking back on Riese, I think though its greatest contribution, it's not its gameplay, but rather its world building. Verrückt had some semblance of a story. Shinonuma introduced us to our characters, but it's Riese that really built a world. When you first start off the map, you don't really have much of a story. You're told you're near Breslau, Germany, and that's about it. You can go on to play this map for years and not know about all the things that go on, or quite frankly, even know that a story existed within zombies. Hints of a story don't begin until you start digging. It's not something that jumps out at you, it's something you have to find. You'll discover the radios and you'll learn all about Richtofen and Dr. Maxis, Group 935, and most importantly Samantha. These radios are the backbone to the original zombie storyline. They set up everything from the major players to their motivations to their conflicts and sets the stage for a story to come that runs for 10 years. It was short, sweet, to the point. It gave you just enough to have a sense of what was going on, but also so little that you didn't know everything. You wanted to keep exploring. It's funny looking back on the zombie storyline community 10 years ago because at the time we weren't even 100% certain that Edward in the radios was the character Richtofen who we were playing as. I mean, now it seems obvious, Edward Richtofen, but we didn't know that then. Riese was a map that you could just explore forever and it would continue to reward you. You'd find scraps of paper that have Illuminati code on them. You'd notice the bulletin board contains hints to potential future map locations. You may even find Group 935's handbook and its dark instructions. All of this eventually culminated in our first Easter egg, the fly trap. As far as Easter eggs go, it was pretty simple. You played hide and go seek with Samantha and that was it. No real story revelations, no rewards, nothing of the sort. But it was also enough at the time. We were hooked. They had our attention, and we did what we did best. We began theorizing. We suspected that maybe doing the Easter egg made the map harder, or maybe there was more to find and it would continue on in this Easter egg. And of course, none of these things were true, but it made us ask questions, and this then informed our storyline speculation, and just like that, the zombie community was born. We became a community that reveled in mystery and left no stone unturned. And then the real fuel to our fire came from the fact that Riese was based on real-life conspiracies like Die Glocke and Project Riese. Riese was a real-life place that we could go and see. We saw the henge in our Easter egg, and the henge actually exists in real life and is a source of real-life conspiracy theories. It was all kick-started by our first Easter egg. It became obvious then that these conspiracies would go on to inform our story and create ideas like Die Glocke is actually the teleporters in-game. This allowed us to explore our storyline both in-game and in real life, and as we began to explore these conspiracy theories, we then began to explore where Treyarch might go next in the zombie storyline. Riese was the perfect catalyst to the zombies community because it was based in these conspiracies and became the driving force in the zombie storyline. It's important to remember the state of Call of Duty 10 years ago. Zombies was not the tentpole of Call of Duty like it is today. Today we expect zombies in our Treyarch games. Meanwhile, Call of Duty 10 years ago, having zombies in it was new and risky and, quite frankly, out of left field. Many people could probably argue that zombies does not belong in World at War and, quite frankly, doesn't belong in Call of Duty at all. Why would a realistic military shooter include a zombies mode that's rooted in science fiction and conspiracy? It doesn't make sense. It's weird. Had Riese or any of these maps flopped, zombies might not have even made it past World at War. It's quite honestly a miracle that we got Riese and that zombies began past Riese, but we owe it all to the fact that Riese was such a wonderful map. That's going to wrap things up for this video. If you enjoyed it or found it interesting, give it a like, maybe subscribe for more. I'm always covering zombies, so if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy the next one. Have a wonderful day, and bye.